In today's video, I'm going to show you how you optimize your website to get the highest conversions when you're running Google ads or Facebook ads in that matter. But specifically, this page is going to be ran in Google search campaigns. So we want to make sure that it gets the highest conversion, and every single person that lands on this site has the highest potential of converting as a lead, right? So ROAS is our main objective when we're basically editing this site today. Let's get right into it. All right, guys. So at first glance, it looks like looking at desktop version, right? So this is what they're going to see when they scroll through desktop version. It looks pretty optimized already. Now, I have been optimizing this site for the most part. Now, what you see here, keep in mind that when people land on this site, I want to make sure that this side of the screen is the same size or centered, better said, with the actual image, right? If you see where I made those squares, you see how it aligns exactly for the most part on the hero section, right? Now, this is what you would call the hero section. When you're running ads and you're putting money into these campaigns, you want to make sure that you get results, right? When your client lands on your page, this is probably where it's going to stop. So you want to make sure that this is super optimized. For example, it has a call now button. It has a book a call button, right? You want to give them both those options. Why? Because sometimes they're ready to buy, right? Or they're ready to ask a question. They're ready to get on a phone call. The Google Ads professionals that work at Google itself always recommend a call now button because it gives you the highest conversion, right? When you get them on the phone, and let's just say you're a service company, you're a plumber, you're a roofer. Most likely, if you get them on the phone, you're going to book an in-person meeting or whatnot, and it's going to go from there, right? They're not going to keep searching on Google search results because they found you. They found what they were looking for, right? So keep that in mind. A call button is usually the best route to go. Some people might be busy at that moment. They're looking for a company or service to maybe buy it later. So you want to make sure you have an option to book a call for later that day or later that week, right? You want to make sure you're giving those options for those busy people and for those people that are ready to go. So now, for the most part, as you see, the desktop version is pretty optimized. Now you just have to skim through it really quick and just make sure that everything is optimized. For the most part, I don't see anything that is missing here. Everything is pretty centered. There's call to actions all throughout the page. Great. Including the end part. Now, it's super important to have call to actions at the end at your footer. We use software to track people on actual websites. So it records their activity, what they're clicking on. It shows heat map versions of this. Now we have software that, specifically when we run ads, we make sure we're tracking them, right? Their movements through the site. And what we've noticed is that a lot of people skim really quickly, relatively quickly, all the way to the footer. So you want to make sure that you have the call to actions in the actual footer, right? You have that call button. You have that book a call button, right? You want to make sure that you're fixing up your site to run ads, because if you don't, you're going to miss on a potential client and lead. Okay, so this is a scheduled appointment. They put their full name, email, and phone number, and then it goes to the second part where they're actually picking the time and date. Now, you're probably thinking, why don't you use something like Calendly, Google Meets, for example? The reason why is that if you use those third-party softwares, Google won't be able to track it as a conversion. So it won't be able to track it on the back end. In return, what that does is if you're able to track it, it will find more people. The AI Google system, when you're running ads, will find more people just like that person who just converted into your scheduler. All right. So instead of having Calendly and these third-party sites, make something like a form where it has a two-step, right? Because everyone likes these, Google Meets and Calendly stuff because it's really convenient. They pick the time, they pick the date, and you get their information, and it sets up everything. The problem with that is that when you're running Google Ads, you won't be able to track it as a true conversion, meaning that the AI won't be able to find you more clients just like that person, your product market fit. So you need a form. Unfortunately, you can't use those third-party sites when you're running ads. So be careful, because I've seen a lot of people do that, make that mistake. They're unable to track their conversions properly. All right, so great. So we have an FAQ section. We have everything. Now we want to make sure that it fits different sizes. Now, let's see. Let's try laptop version first, right? Let's try for laptop version. Let's go for MacBook Air and let's see how that looks. Now it looks pretty clean. Everything pretty much looks centered. I don't have any complaints so far. Most important thing is that it is visual. Everything is visual from one glance, right? You can see the heading, you can see the image, you can see the call to actions, the logo with the 5-star rating. Everything is pretty good on laptop version. For MacBook Air, I can't complain. Now, obviously, there's a lot of more sizing for laptops, but for the most part, this is a pretty standard size. I think this is good. Have no complaints. As you see, it looked pretty good. Now let's try a different size. Let's go for the iPhone 14. Let's see how that looks. So as you can see, it looks good. No complaints. Everything is visible at an angle. So, you know, it looks good. No complaints there. Yep, it looks great. Now, if you want to make sure that your site is actual mobile friendly and is responsive in all these devices, I'll share this software that I'm using. Is actually free. Well, it's not free. There is a pro version to it, but I'm using the free version here so you can actually see what it will look like. So let's see an Exami 12. These are just different screen sizes for mobile. And for the most part, if you check one mobile size, most of them will look good. Now, if you have like packages, pricing packages and stuff like that, then it might look a little different depending on how you set it up. But as you see, for the most part, it looks good, right? Now let's just try one more. Let's try a Galaxy phone. Their screens are usually slit to the ends. Have a little more room for play for this. Looks good for the most part. I was pretty sure that it was going to look good on all mobile sites. Now, if you have a more narrow screen, that's where you start seeing a little bit of a difference. Let's compare it to an iPhone 5, for example. As you see that the screen is a lot smaller. Now, you see how the menu kind of looks bad, right? It doesn't look nowhere near how it did before. For example, you see this is the iPhone SE 2016. And move up. See, as soon as you move up in size, a lot of people don't have these smaller phones, but you want to be cautious, because if they do, your site won't look good and you won't get a conversion. So as you see, this is a smaller screen. The menu size is out of whack, right? The buttons now, instead of being next to each other, now they're on top of each other. Now these little things sometimes don't matter, but a lot of the times they do. This is not so bad, but sometimes it looks really bad and it won't count a conversion. Now, for the most part, the rest of the site looks great. So it was just the menu, right? You want to notate that, make sure you fix that menu. Sometimes you won't really need to, but it depends. Hey, there's people out there still using older phones, or they're using phones with smaller screens. But for the most part, I think iPhone 11 is probably the oldest that we're gonna get. So it looks fine. Looks great. I think we're ready to rock to the next responsive mode. Let's see how it looks on a Galaxy tablet. Okay, so this is what I'm talking about. As you see now, we checked the laptop. It looked great. We checked for the mobile device. It looks great, unless you're talking about a really small screen, which people usually don't use. But now we're looking at it on tablet. As you see, basically the header and everything on the left side is merging with the right, and the screen looks bad, right? The video, this is supposed to be video, looks bad. So now we'll keep scrolling to the bottom. So now we know we need to fix this. Oh, okay. So there you go. Another thing, the two buttons are out of whack, right? They're not centered. Yep. So see, every single button section is not centered on the screen. So this might throw people off, and they might just click back and not finish actually skimming through your site. So super important when you're actually running ads, you're hoping to be profitable, right? Let's try this tablet. This is like a wider type tablet, but even in the wider tablets, as you see, this header size is still out of whack. It's still touching and centering in the middle, and those buttons are not centered. So let's go into our site and quickly finish this, so that way we can run ads with this site. Hey guys, now if you're having trouble following along and you it seems like a lot and you just don't want to deal with this stuff, me and my team have a done for you service where we actually built out your funnel, your website, so you get the highest ROAS when you actually decide to run ads on Google and Facebook. It's a must have. Even if you're doing things like SEO, search engine optimization, you want to make sure that you have a site and funnel that meets your goals, right? Whether that's adding more people to your monthly recurring revenue or just getting a overall higher conversion lead rate. I'm going to leave the link in the description. Just give us a call and we're happy to help you out. All right, guys. So we are using Elementor to edit this site. Don't worry, I'm going to have all the links in the description of this video of the software that I'm using. Now, first thing we're going to want to do is go to the responsive mode for tablet on top. Now, as you can see here, it looks just like how it looked before in the other software. Now, the quickest way that I can think of fixing this hero section, which is the most important part of the website that gives you the highest conversions, is basically just redoing this section altogether, right? Instead of adding a bunch of code, let's just go ahead and copy and actually duplicate this hero section. Okay, so now we're going to have two hero sections. You see, we have one here and then we have the original duplicate. Now, this first hero section, what we're going to want to do is hide it for right now, but make sure that it's actually responsive. So that this means what I'm doing right here is that we're hiding this original section from the tablet version, right? So you're not going to be able to see it when you're actually using the site. As you see, it disappeared. So as soon as I hide it, it just goes away and now you only see one section. Now this is the one that we want to work with. We're going to leave the other section to the other versions, okay? So the first thing we're going to want to do is take this video and put it under the actual section where we're gonna play with that sizing for in a minute. We're going to go ahead and delete this container. And let's see, let's just go click on the actual overall container and see if we have any margins on this. Okay, yep, we have 100 to the left, so we're going to want to do 50. You know what? Let's go ahead and unclick link this and click 0. So that way it's just 0 margins. Now let's just go ahead and move this and center this really quickly. Great. So now we're centering everything so it is centered on the actual tablet, right? Because a tablet is like an oversized mobile phone, right? So this is what we're doing. We're basically resizing it so it's mobile friendly for a tablet, if that makes sense. Now let's just go ahead and center this as well. Okay, awesome. Now let's just make this smaller by changing the width size to about 35. Perfect. Now that looks better already. Now let's add a little space on the top since we took out all the margins and add about a 20 radius of, okay, hold on. Let's unlink this and actually let's do 35. Okay, so great. So now we have a little space in between the menu and it's looking good. It's looking a lot better than before. Now let's go ahead and grab this video. All right, guys, so this is a good size. I just put the video in a different container so we can manipulate it later. We're going to go ahead and actually just check the desktop version before we save. So as you noticed now, this version, which is this is actually the tablet version, is showing up on the desktop version. So what we want to do here is actually hide this version, right? So this hero section that we had, we want to go ahead and click on responsive, click on advanced, and then hide it on widescreen, hide it on desktop, hide it on laptop, and hide it on mobile version, right? We don't want this to show up on the other responsive screens, right? We just want them to see this one. Let's just go ahead and publish and see how this looks on the other software that we were using. Okay, great. So far, so good. On desktop, it still looks good. Now let's go ahead and try iPhone 11. Okay, great. So iPhone 11 still looks good. Now let's go ahead and try a Galaxy tablet. Okay, awesome. So now as you see here, on the tablet version, it looks great. People can see the book a call now. They can see the call now button. They can see the video, start in 3 easy steps. Everything looks great. Now let's skim down because I remember there was another problem with the buttons, right? So these buttons here, these call to actions were super important. It slid to the left side of the screen. So let's just go back really quick. Let's click on responsive. Instead of adding a parameter or padding, we're just going to go ahead and center this making this website responsive and giving us the best return on ad spend once this actually goes live in the search campaign, right? All right, so we're just going ahead and center this and this last two set of call to action buttons, and great. So there you go. Let's just go ahead and publish that and go back to the actual view. Great. Let's refresh this page as well. Let's see how it looks. All right, so the hero section looks great. These middle sections look great, okay? Call to action, book a call, and everything that the client needs to see is there. And that is the most important thing, is that it's responsive. So when the client gets to the site, they get quick results, right? You don't want them to be searching your site everywhere to call you or to book a call. You want it to make it as quickly, as seamless as possible. Let's go to iPad Pro 11. Let's just see how it looks here. Okay, it looks great. No complaints. This is probably the most important section that you're going to deal with, is this first hero section. Keep that in mind. That's going to get you the highest conversions. People usually don't skim down under this area. That area is this area here, okay? The tagline on what you do, you always want to make sure that this is relatively easy to understand, right? For this company, it's a vacation rental management, right? You can either call now or book a call for later. You can watch a promotional video, which also gives you around 98% higher chances of conversions when you put videos on sites explaining the service or product. As you see here, all the buttons look perfect now and centered, and that was the most important thing. All right. Other than conversion rate optimization, which is what we did today, making sure that you have successful ads and running it smoothly. You want to make sure you're converting them at the highest rate. You're going to want to click on this video, check out everything in my library. It just shows you how to be successful online with your website. I'm your friendly neighborhood entrepreneur, Alexander Silva, and I'll catch you on the next one.